right, all right. Welcome to another episode of the Panel for Business. We're here with Ike.
Sure.
Yeah. we're gonna plug the socials eventually. We're still getting all that good stuff together.
Yeah.
As always, like and subscribe. We just got our Patreon going. We're gonna have some exclusive content there. We're looking towards possibly doing some time where you could talk to Ike personally and get advice if you're opening a business, if you're curious about different things that comes to opening a business. Ike is open plenty of different small businesses and different ventures. So even sales training, that's a thing. So
I love that.
yeah, that'd be really good. You'd be like Grant Cardone.
There you go. Maybe better.
Yeah, and last time we were here, we talked about the process of just opening the business to begin with, from ground up, from inception, from thought, and how that formulated into a business plan, business model. How you got your, how you went from maybe getting a truck to getting an actual storefront. And we kind of just left it off right there. But there was a lot of things that we didn't go over, kind of like, what prep it went into opening the joint and different things like that. We'll get right into it. If you don't mind, if you could take me through the process, like, so when you got the building, it wasn't, the way that you needed it to be at first. What went into, formulating how it would, turning it into what you needed it to be in order for it to look like a barbecue restaurant?
Yeah. So I had a concept in my head, and I told my mom, like, I dreamed this concept. I knew exactly where I wanted everything at, which was amazing to a lot of people because they like, you don't have any plans? Nope, I got it in my head. Like, I dreamed about it every night. So I knew from customers coming in to where the bathroom was, to where they're going to sit, to where the kitchen was going to be. Like, I visualize all of it, So the next thing I had to do was I had to get creative and find me someone to help me build this out. And money was tight. Remember, I was telling you I thought I could buy the big smoker, and I had to bump it down to the one I could buy, which was still expensive because I spent about $10,000 on that one smoker. And so then what we did is we looked at the space, and I went in there and started demoing it. I found me a carpenter that could help me, which was really good because he was able to see my vision. He put it down on a diagram, how long this wall was going to be, where this was going to be, what kind of tile. We went to Home Depot. I started picking out my materials. Already knew how I wanted this place to look. And he gave me a price. And I was like, okay, that's a lot. So I said, how about this? How about I help you with it? I don't know how to do anything. I'll basically be your mule. Whatever you need me to go get, I'll go get it. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. Like, just help me out because I don't have a lot of funds, right? And he was like, okay. And so he gave me a price of me helping him. He said, also, you helping me is going to slow me down too because you don't know anything. But I was like, I swear I would be quiet. I won't, tell you what to do. Like, now that we got the plans, like, okay, I want to help. Let me save myself some money. So at this point, I had to learn how to be very creative, and that's kind of like the story right now is that when you start something and you have not done it, like, your creativity is called upon. And that's what it was, So going to Home Depot, getting the materials and start building out the store. And, he was the kind of carpenter that, if he said he's going to be there at 7 a.m, he was there at 7 a.m. And if he said we're going to work to 8 tonight, we work to 8 tonight, So that was good for me because I'm like that too. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So he would like that about me, that he wasn't looking for me either, And so we built out the store. I learned a lot about carpentry. He was a carpenter, so I learned a lot about that. Tiling the floor, he was like, how do you want this? And I'm just always picturing the customer. What impression do I want when the customer sees this place, how it's going to make them feel? So everything went into how it would be projected to a customer on a budget.
Mm-hmm. And then, how long did that process take?
You know, it's speed to everything. That's how I kind of think when, doing something is like you don't kind of lollygag. Sorry. You don't lollygag, you just get straight to it. So it was like we got the plans, I already had the funds. It's like go to Home Depot, start buying the material, start building. So, I mean, that's kind of how it went. And I knew what day I wanted to open. So, we worked very hard to get to that opening day where, the advertising I'm putting out there, we opening this day, you know. So we just push, and did whatever we had to do to make it happen.
Did you guys end up making that the day that you first intended, or
Yes.
did you have to push it back at all?
Yeah. So initially, I had a date, and then once I saw it wasn't going to happen on that exact date, I did have to push it back 30 more days just because I wanted everything right. I didn't want to I didn't want people to come in here and it's half done. So because that's their first impression. So that's what I did. I was like, okay. But as soon as I knew I couldn't make that first deadline, I said, I'm going to make the second deadline. And I started advertising. So I started putting money out there to advertise to make sure I wanted a good first opening day.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the build out of the store, how the store looks aesthetically, the paint, the different things like that, the floors, the furniture. But obviously, you're there to sell a product. How did you get that product to sell, and how did you get those things prepped and ready, for sale, for consumption?
Yeah. So what I had to do is I had to find all my vendors. So basically, just driving around, I'm seeing different, companies that deliver food. So before this, I was in my, driveway making barbecue for people, and a lot of people loved it in the driveway. But I couldn't scale the driveway, so that's why I had to find companies that can get me 50 cases of, slabs of ribs. Because when I started kind of selling a lot in the driveway, I learned really quickly that every rib is not the same. So if I just go to Myers or Strack or go to the grocery store, one rib would be, this big, one would be this big. So it was like, it wasn't the same. So I had to find, how do I get consistent? So that's one thing I also had to learn, is that's why at the restaurant, like when you go to a restaurant, pretty much if you go get a slab of ribs, it looks the same every time. That's because they're paying that vendor to only bring them this every time. When you go in the grocery store, it's a free for all. You might get a slab of ribs that's, so big, and you're like, "Ooh, let's get the biggest slab." Okay, but in a restaurant, that don't work. So I did lose some people. I will say that was buying from me when I was in my driveway to when I got into the restaurant. I did lose some people because, they was used to a certain thing. They was, it was love in the driveway. Now it's for business, so I couldn't get the same love because now it's a business, So, but I gained hundreds and thousands of other people, when I got the business. But yeah,
And eventually those people came back, right?
sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't, because some people like me at a certain level, and that level was in my backyard, and that's what they liked.
Is that hate?
No, I didn't take it as hate. I just took it like, when starting something, like anything, people gonna love you at different levels, and you're gonna lose people, and it's nothing. That's just what it is, So I lost some people, but I gained some people. So I just took it like that.
I personally had a hard time accepting that too. Is that some people only love me at levels where they had more access to me, or where I was at a certain status, or where I was doing things that they were doing, so it was cool. And then once I moved on, the love wasn't there anymore, and it took me a long time to kind of get over that, and to be able to be okay moving on, and be in different circles, and especially because where we come from, they're like, oh, you always got to get back to the block and blah blah
Right.
blah, this and that, and sometimes it just the hood don't love you the same once you make it to a certain status and you have to move on from that, and that's really really tough.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing with entrepreneurship is that you're going to shed some people as you moving forward, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And people love you for who you are to them at that moment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it hurt a little bit, obviously, you know, I'm human. It hurt a little bit because I had loyal people. I remember I used to have people at NIPSCO, they used to buy lunches from me, and it was consistent. I sent out a text, they all put their order in, they get their food, they loved it. But then once I moved to the new place, a couple of people came, but I lost a lot of them too, you know. It was like it's not the same, you know, what you selling now we don't like, and we like you better there. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's what it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but I gained so many people that love the way I was doing it now. So, you know, it's like you just, yeah, that's progression.
Did you end up using the same vendors all throughout, or was there a lot of changes that needed to be made? Did you find were you able to find better deals here and there? How was that process like?
That's a good question. So, pretty much, the people I started with, it's funny how when you start a business, vendors don't like to let you go because, you know, you were with them, right? So I remember like my janitorial service when I first got that, I had them through the whole 5 years that they would come in and they had different things, the products they bring. Um, and it was a few times I tried to cancel them because I have somebody else coming through the door saying I can get you a better deal. And they were like, no, 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 no. What we gonna do? They'll send their representative over there, and they like cut you a little bit better deal now since you know more, you know, because when you're new, you don't know that much.
Mm-hmm.
But then you start interacting with other people. They like, man, we could do your rugs for this, and we can get your towels for this, and you like, they charging me this, you know, and you go back to them like, no, 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 we're gonna send somebody. We're gonna talk to you about that. So because relationships are so important.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, that also helped me in the business as well because sometimes if I got into a pinch, you know, I've had vendors put food in a car and bring it to me. They're like, "Hey, I'm coming right now," you know, and because I might be in a spot, so that was nice too, you know.
Yeah. And then, so you had food vendors, you had vendors for janitorial services. What were the
Mhm.
other types of vendors that you had that you would see on a regular basis?
One that's super important is somebody to fix stuff when it breaks,
Mm.
and that's very important because if the smoker went down, you know, we can't cook no more, you know. So you
She
know,
be talking.
yeah,
She gonna be
yeah,
talking.
yeah. She just be talking.
Mm.
So you know, so that was important too. You know, is finding those kind of relationships, and that was just driving around and looking for people and calling them. You know, and they're always super expensive. Also, with the city, you know, you have to have the different licenses, but they also send people into your store to check your store. You know, make sure that you're, you know, it's a clean store. You don't have rodents running around. So those relationships I built too, you know, through the city, cause the health department. Um, and it's funny, you know, just a little backstory is that one time somebody was mad at us and they called themselves calling the health department on us. And everybody at the health department knew how clean my store was and how organized it was and how I made sure because you got to take a test to be able to get the license to be able to sell food to people. But they was like, we already knew they was mad, you know, but we still got to come through, you know. So it was like, because I had that standard, like I did not play with nothing nasty. We keep our place clean. Whatever you supposed to refrigerate something, it was that or better. You know, it's like I didn't take any cuts or we didn't play any games with people health. You know, because I eat here, my mom eat here, and all you know the community is eating here. So I don't want anybody getting sick from anything I sold them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we have vendors for basically everything. You know, vendors for everything. And as you kind of grow, then you kind of pit your vendors against each other to get better deals. So you know, so I would look at their prices and I would try to find people that can maybe beat that price because restaurant margins are super thin. You know, to be able to run a successful business. So you know, you have to kind of find it where you can sometimes. So I would say, hey, this company is doing this for me. Can you sell yours for this? And they'll be like, well, no, we can't, or yes, we can. So, so you have to kind of pit your people against each other too.
Hmm. So you got the vendors and everything all set up.
Mm-hmm.
You're ready for your opening day.
Mm-hmm.
Take me through that first opening day. How did that go? I know you mentioned the you got the NIPSCO text and you
Yeah,
thought that the power was going to get shut
man.
off. But
Yeah.
overall, was that day, at least financially, a success for you? Were you after you left that day? Did you feel like, okay, we got something, or were you panicking?
Good question. So all the
They
hard
all good
work.
questions. I'm good at this.
Yes, I like that. I like that. So another good question.
Yeah.
So, so I would say this is that I had already proven that I can do this.
Hmm.
Before I ever opened up the restaurant,
Hmm.
and everyone that was around me was so proud that I had got to this point where I can open up the doors.
Hmm.
I mean, even the guy who leased me the place, he was proud of me. He was like, you're amazing. Your business is going to do so good just because of how I did business with people. I was straight up. If I said, you can pull this money out this day, they can pull it out. It ain't bouncing, because I was so on what I was on about business. I don't feel like you should be taking any shortcuts when you're doing business, because for the long haul, for the long run, it's going to catch up to you. So, I wasn't looking for the hookups, and I wasn't looking for the cheap way of doing something. I was going to get value for everything I bought or everything I did. So when I opened up that day, I knew I had nothing to worry about. I already know my barbecue is good. I already know my process is good. I already saw this day coming. It was just that day came. We opened up the door, and people coming in, people piling in, happy to try some new barbecue in the area.
Hmm. Do you have an approximate of how much you spent in advertising before you opened?
I always tried to spend more than I wanted to. That was kind of my philosophy. Spending till it hurts, because if you don't, you can't move. You can't move the needle. So I don't know exactly what I spent, but every dollar that I made, I was spending it back into the business and just taking out a little bit just so that I can, you know, take care of myself, and my family. So yeah, it was put it back right back into the business all the time.
Hmm. Yeah. So we mentioned on the last episode that you started off with how many people?
Phew. When I first started off, I think I had two, four, six, 8 people. Yeah,
Hmm.
eight
Yeah.
people in there.
Yeah, she sure be talking about unplug her. She keep on talking. She'll never be talking like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so you started off with 8 people.
Mhm.
How quickly did that change?
Um, I realized after a few cycles of paychecks I had to give out
Hmm.
that I got to change this. I got to change this up because I'm paying too many people, because I'm looking for efficient. So I'm very efficient. Like, I'm a minimum. I don't need a lot. So I'm sitting back and I'm saying, okay, I got 2 cashiers, and really one cashier can handle this. And as sometimes I need two. So since I had already had everybody with their job, okay, you're a cashier. This is your job. You're a line cook. This is your job. So since I had everyone in their position, as people started just being people, because I had this one gentleman that started with me, and he basically brought like 3 or 4 people to my business. He was like, when you open, we're going to be there. We're going to help you. And he was. And here's another story is when you start in something, you think you need people, and they want you to believe you need them. But as time went on, I learned I need me, you know. But when you starting, you kind of gravitate to people, so you bring people with you. So he was like, "Hey, I've been a cook for all these years. I'm gonna bring you somebody that knows how to do this and can do that, and we already got experience, and we know how to handle the customer." And I was like, "Oh my God, I need that. Thank you." I was so excited and so happy. But then once they started working, I realized y'all are a headache. You know, you guys are hurting my business, But at the beginning, I didn't know, you know. So here's what I learned from that is kind of like the car business is you can't really take people on their word until they prove otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say they're going to do something, expect for them not to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to learn again. So that's why, I had crazy story. I had one of the girls, I found out that the guy was dating the girl, right? And he was married. And I was like, what kind of mess y'all got going on up in here? And so she gets mad at him. She goes and lock herself in the bathroom.
That wasn't that big of a space for them to be having all that drama up in there. You know what I mean?
But it was funny. But it wasn't funny at the time
Mm-mm.
because I was mad because I'm like, I'm trying to run a business and y'all playing these goofy games up in here. She mad at him and she then ran and locked herself in the bathroom. I called Michelle. I said, I need you to come up here and get this woman out my bathroom. She done locked herself in there. Customers are knocking on the door. She ain't even letting the customers in there. I'm like, that's the mess I'm talking about. But those was the people I had in there
Mm-hmm.
because at that time I just thought I needed people. I just need people to help me. I need people to help my business. And you do, but you don't. And so that's kind of taught me, it's something, it just comes out of you that you going to have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
How many employees did you end with?
So when we when we ended, I needed two or three.
Yeah.
2 or 3. Yeah. Because everyone got very efficient. So I learned to teach every employee how to do all the jobs. All the jobs. So you can answer the phone, you can take orders, you can expedite, you can, cook, you can prep, you can clean, you can do it all. And that's when I started being profitable. It's when I learned how to teach everybody every position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What were there a lot of challenges in finding people to hire?
Yeah, because we was in the COVID days, so it was real. It was easy in the beginning, hard at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as a business, you really don't want to go through a lot of people. You really want to keep the people that you have, because once I taught somebody my system, like they was valuable to me now. And that's how I would come to them. I said, so now you're valuable to me because you know how to do all the jobs. I can leave you here and you can do everything by yourself if worse come to worse. So I would give them a raise and they wouldn't even ask for it. I would just make sure, like, here's, more money. And they was always grateful. Yeah, I'm making more money. But I wanted them to know how valuable they was to me.
Mm-hmm. When you started pre-COVID?
Yeah. So I started before COVID, and then we ended kind of right after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So crazy times.
What was that transition like when it first started happening, like around like February, March 2020?
Yeah. So it was very interesting because a lot of restaurants was closing. A lot of them couldn't open up because they were sit down restaurants. Sorry. So it was kind of cool for me because I was a takeout, so I was allowed to be open, but we had to make sure that we was masked up and wearing gloves, which we already wore gloves, but we wore them all the time now. Um, but basically, we just had to step up our cleanliness and safety even more. As in, every time we went and talked to a customer, we would go back and wash our hands. And we had places for people to clean their hands as they talking to us. People didn't even want to touch the keypad to sign for the credit card. They was like, you don't have anything. So we had to have something for them to wash their hands after they sign their name on the keypad. So it was really weird times. But I survived it. I would say that life threw a lot at us, and I survived. Survived it.
Yeah. Did you make were did you see a drop in business?
It dropped but then it exploded.
Why?
It exploded because we figured out how to do business where people can be safe. So what we had to do is lock all the customers out of the store because people did not care about COVID. They like, I don't care. I ain't wearing no mask. I'm like, oh no, you go get it shut down. Health department coming here, y'all ain't got no masks on. So it was like, guess what we got to do, guys? We got to lock people out because there's people that don't care about this COVID thing. And then we would have to go out to their cars on curbside and take their order. So I had to, get these kind of pads that I can put the order in and then would shoot to the kitchen so that people knew what we was ordering. So we just had to get creative. And that's kind of like another memory that just brought up is that's the first time I saw that Silverado truck too. I saw that Silverado truck, right? It was this guy that worked down the street at Denny's, and he came in, had a big Silverado truck, and that's the first time I saw that truck, and I was like, man, this is a nice truck. He was like, yeah, it just came out, it was a Trail Boss, and I said, I'm gonna get me one of these one day. And I sure got me one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to do it, but it was like a lot of hard work. So, but anyway, yeah, we go outside, we would take orders. We had to lock people out. Another crazy story is that we sold seafood bags there too, right? And people would go crazy over our seafood boil bags. And we need to have a show on just the craziness that
That's some crazy shit.
yeah, I got some crazy stories, man, of customers, man. But to stay on topic, yeah, we had to adapt to we had to adapt to COVID.
What role did deliveries play?
So at the beginning, I started doing the deliveries. I would just, I saw an opening because that's when DoorDash really popped off and Uber Eats, and I'll go do deliveries. I'll keep the staff at the store. I'll go run the orders. So, which was, kind of cool. But it was a headache too because when you go to apartments, you can't find an apartment and you out there with their food. And, so I learned it's a hard job delivering food too, right? Because I would go down streets. And you got a GPS and it's sending you the wrong place. So that was another challenge, but there again, it's you just learn. You just have to make it work, It was crazy though.
I remember when we first thought about doing deliveries. It was
Yeah.
before DoorDash
Yeah.
and Uber Eats and different things like that were available in the area.
Yeah.
And you were like, "We're just gonna do it ourselves." And
Yeah,
I said,
yeah.
You sure about that, boss?"
Yes, that's right.
You
'Cause it
sure
was-
about that?
They hadn't already built it in yet, right? They
Yeah.
was in Chicago. They was like, we're still in Chicago. We're going to be in your area, but if you want to do the delivery, yeah, you can. You can do your own deliveries. I'm like, let's do it, because I was always trying to find different, avenue streams for income.
Mm-hmm.
It was so important that we get all the money that's due to us.
Mm-hmm. What was it like the first time you had to fire someone?
You know, you don't want to fire nobody, because then it kind of feel like you failed them, But some people made it easy because they ain't show up, so that was easy. But then some people, just couldn't get it. Like they just constantly can't get it. They messing up, They costing you money, so you got to cut the fat where you got to cut the fat at. Just like the girl that locked herself in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Easy. Get out, you're fired. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna lock out customers? They got to use the bathroom because
Yeah.
you want to go in the bathroom and cry. So some of them made it really easy. They didn't show up for work. No call, no show. But some of them was a little harder.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a lot of correlation? Because how long did you work in the car business prior?
Man, I've been in the car business most of my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
I started at 19, so pretty on and off for a lot of years.
Yeah.
In my life.
Did you see a lot of correlation between the sales atmosphere and the restaurant atmosphere?
And they two different beasts. The only thing that was similar, I feel, is that you're dealing with customers.
Mm-hmm.
And in the car business, long time ago, There was no such thing as a Google review or a Yelp review. And now that you got a restaurant, you know, there's reviews. So people review you, your customers are kind of like talking to you about their experience in the store.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the only really thing that was similar,
Yeah.
is reviews, customers, because selling food and selling cars is two different things. It still sells, but it's not the same.
Which did you enjoy more personally?
It still sells. So I kind of enjoy them both, in different ways. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you like baseball games and basketball games. They're two different games, but you like them both.
Mm-hmm.
So it was similar, and I like both games. I like selling the cars, and I like cooking the food. So it was just different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely different. Just the atmosphere of it, with selling cars, you have the whole lot there. You have a little bit of freedom. You do have the responsibility. I mean, they're both, eat what you kill type businesses because you're a business owner. And then again, if you're in the car business, you're damn near a 1099 employee.
Right.
So it was definitely eat what you kill, but there was some hustle that had to go with it. But two different environments for sure.
Yeah.
I know that I enjoyed just the kind of the normality of working in the restaurant industry. It was something a little bit that a lot more people could relate to. That type of atmosphere.
Well, it's more frequent,
Yeah.
because people eat every day. They don't buy cars every day. So, you sell them somebody a car, you might not see them for 10 years. You sell them something they like to eat, you're going to see them a lot. I had people that was there weekly, and some of my highlight moments is when people would talk to me about how my food affected them, as in, if I was having a sale, because I used to have crazy sales, and they was like, man, and we was all wondering how we was going to eat today. And we got your text, ding, and it's like, man, 20 wings for $10. We going to Master Que. It's like, and we could all eat off that. And it's like, yeah, interesting, so you just don't know how you affect people. And we used to send out them texts, we would start sending them out daily. And not a lot of people asked us to stop texting them. So they want to see the text. And when we didn't send text, they'd be like, I ain't got my text from you in a long time. What's going on? And then, we got to figure out what's going on with their account. But yeah, food affects people differently, you know. And to some people, it was a highlight. Some families came in there and might spend $100, $200 just to eat for that night. Yeah, give us 5 slabs of ribs and give us this and give us that. And we like, whoa, wow, amazing. And then some families just trying to eat for the day. 5 wings for $3, and it comes with fries. That's their meal for the night. So yeah, you affect a lot of people. Selling cars, you affect a lot of people too. You change lives when you sell somebody a car. You give them freedom to be able to get a job or go to school. So they similar but different.
Was there a method of advertising that may have worked better than others? What were the different ways that you advertised?
So as you know, we want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be everywhere. I said McDonald's paying for a billboard and everybody know them. So why shouldn't I be paying for a billboard, right? We was everywhere, the postcards, Facebook, paid ads. We did that, different programs that companies have where, they give their employees different like books like Chase and all these companies where they get discounts for going to this place, or, it was some kind of drive and we would put coupons in there for that. Like I learned to say yes to everything, say yes. Even if I didn't want to say yes, it was just something that always told me, just say yes. So when you start saying yes, you put yourself out there all kind of different ways you don't even know, because for some reason a lot of us is taught to say no. And in business, you got to say yes to get yourself out there. Say like, hey, can you? I don't. Did you ever go to Crown Point with me when we barbecued out there? Was you a part of that or no?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so we went out to Crown Point. They was opening up this like pavilion. They was like, oh man, it would be so good. We don't have a food vendor. If you can come out here, I was like, yeah, we'll be out there. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go out there. But I just said yes to everything. So that put me in a lot of spaces, people that have festivals. Can you come to our festival? Yeah, I'll be there. And I'll figure out. That's one thing you learn. You just figure it out. Once you say yes, now you just got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One person that I definitely relate to in business is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is, infamously known for setting ridiculous expectations for himself and for the people that he works with, and a lot of times you'll double triple up on the expectation, and you might not get exactly what you set out to get, but even where you did get was a lot further than what you thought, and it's kind of like shoot for the moon, land at the stars, type thing.
That's kind of like what happened to me when I went out there. Remember, I was telling you about the guy from Wendy's that, and he said he was a manager out there, and I was like, he was like, yeah, we shut down, we can't open, and I was like, he was like, we make $40,000-$50,000, a week, and we shut down. I was like, $40,000-$50,000 a week selling hamburgers and fries. I was like, and I'm like, man, they right down the street and they making that much money doing that. And so that kind of like had me like, wow, there's so much money out here, and there's people that know how to get it, but you got to figure their processes are different than ours. So that's why I was always trying to work on my processes, because that's the difference between me and them. If my process is broken, I'm not even set up to make $40,000-$50,000 a week. They are, and they've come up with the process, and they're able to reproduce it all any city they go to.
Yeah. So, you had your company for how long?
5 years.
Yeah. What was there a certain reason why you didn't want to continue, or why it shut down, or like what was that process like? Was it just a transition mode in your life?
Good question. So I would say, in year 4, I finally was like hit the spot where like I got this, finally, from all the hard years of just barely making it. Year 4 is when it finally opened up, and that felt good. That felt good. Is that now I'm profitable. Now I owe taxes, and that was a good feeling to, finally get to that spot. So year 5 is my lease was up in 5 years, and I made a commitment to myself that when I started is that I was going to make it to 5 years. If I see, like I can do more or accomplish more, then I would have renewed my lease for another 5 years. So what happened in year 5 is that now I'm at that spot where I'm like, am I going to lead this to my son? And my son don't want to run a barbecue restaurant. So I'm like, okay. So I think I need to start thinking about selling it, because I had accomplished really what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to take an idea that was in my head and turn it into something. And in year 4, we almost made $1 million, in sales, gross sales. So don't be looking for me in the street. I ain't got that money no more. But it was gross sales, okay? Before all the bills. So But that was a big accomplishment because I said to myself, I want to see if I could do it. And I did it, you know. So at that point, really, I had nothing else to prove. So now I just had to decide, do you want to continue to keep doing this? Do you want to keep working like this, you know, which was very hard work. And it's very hard to have a restaurant. I have no disrespect for anybody that runs a restaurant, work in a restaurant, got any parts of a restaurant. I have newfound respect when I open up my own restaurant. So it's hard work. It is hard work from the time your eyes open to the time your eyes go to sleep. It's hard work. So I said to myself, is this how you want to live out the rest of your days? Because I need to decide right now, am I going to start selling franchises? If I am, I need to start working on that to be able to, you know, sell this franchise, you know, because I've already proven it can make money. But, you know, I did get some people that said, Ike, without, you know, what are you really selling? Because I had people coming to my business and they was, you know, potential investors and wanting to buy the business. They say, really, what you're just selling is your recipes because you don't own the building, you know. Um, we can get our own equipment. We can come up with our own barbecue. So really, all you really have to sell is recipes, you know. So that's kind of like when I realized that I've worked very hard on a business that I it's not something that is as tangible as I thought it was to sell. You know, it wasn't like I had a bunch of cars or a bunch of houses, you know, that I could sell. You know, I had recipes.
How'd that make you feel?
Um, it it was a feeling of, you know, hmm, like did I choose wrong? You know, did I pick the wrong business to get into? Although this business gave me so much joy and so much pain, but at the end, it really wasn't worth what I wanted it to be worth. I'm thinking if I got a business that's making almost $1 million a year, and then I learned once I was trying to sell it that that's because you're here. If you come out of this business, would it make $1 million a year? And I was like, ooh, no, I don't think it would. So I'm the valuable one, you know. If I was to die or get sick and couldn't come, that business would fold. So, um, so that was the hard part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the hard part. So, how did it make me feel? I would say, not so. You know, I said maybe I chose wrong, but I would say that I didn't think of that going in.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking of an exit plan. You know, because when you start a business, you do need to think, can I sell this? And I thought I could. You know, I just hadn't done enough research into knowing that it's not as valuable as I think it is. So I did end up selling the business, and you know, that was the end of Master Q.
Yeah. By the end of it, did you make out the way that you felt was satisfactory?
Yeah, it's more emotional. I would say it was more emotional than anything. That part I was. I mean, I accomplished so much. If I would have stayed just selling cars, I would have never got those experiences that I was able to enjoy. You know, from just building a store out, laying tile, doing drywall. You know, it was so many different skills I learned dealing with vendors, dealing, you know, negotiating with food companies, and I mean, so many different things I did. HR, I mean, I had to do payroll every other week. You know, it's like I gained so many skills that I could have never got just going to work every day. So I'm not disappointed in that. And, I could not live with myself if I would have never done it.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been like, I'm such a failure. I never even took a step to even try to do a business. Did it end the way I wanted it to? No. But I still, I lived through it. I worked hard every day. It was so many times when my bank account, was low and I got to make payroll and I had to get creative. I had to pay vendors because their money's coming out. And, when you paying vendors, it's thousands of dollars to buy all this meat. and you got to figure out it. I never bounced none of those people. I never. One time I remember in the beginning, they was like, we went to go get, the money out. It wasn't there. You're gonna have to pay us in a cash or a check. And I was like, okay, no problem. Come on to the store. Like I've always been able to make it happen. My payroll, I always made my payroll. None of those employees could ever say, Ike stiffed me on my money. No, I made sure you got paid because I want to get paid. I'm going to make sure you get paid. So all these different hats that I learned to have on my head, you know, if I swear, if to do it again, I would do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I would do it again, and I don't think I could have did it no better than I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So no regrets there. And did I take a little piece of my life? I own that piece of my life. For those 5 years, I did exactly what I wanted to do every day. Nobody telling me anything. I did what I want to do. Every day I woke up, I fed my family, and I fed a lot of other families.
Yeah.
Some good barbecue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I thank God that He gave me that time to experience that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Was there? Do you still get that itch to be back in that position to just do whatever you want to do to the entrepreneurial? I mean, I have a feeling like that when it's in your spirit, it just doesn't go away. Hence why I'm here doing this. After owning my business and my business going away and learning from that, learning how to teach and train and duplicate myself, and then having that transition into something different where I'm clocking back in every day, still getting that itch. Like, fuck that. I think I can, I'm just gonna pivot over here. Do you still get that itch as well?
So with me, um, I would say that that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I am. I'm always going to figure out a way to create a new business. And that's what I do. And the next business will be better than the last business because I'm matured more, I've grown more, I've done more. So I don't think you should ever stop trying to. And it's not so much that I don't like working for somebody or working at a job. That has its place. But also, I'm very creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like to take nothing and make it into something. That's who I am. So since that's who I am, I have to stay true to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm I don't know what the future holds, but yeah, we're going after it.
For sure, for sure. I appreciate you sharing that information. I mean, a lot of people can benefit from just looking at how other people came to and got out and different things like that and roadblocks and whatnot. I'm always one of the ones. When I was a lot younger, I always hung out with the older guys and learn from them. That way, I could avoid their mistakes, different things like that. We definitely want to see if we can give everyone an opportunity to ask questions and different things like that, because that's important to share that knowledge, especially in our community, to be able to share that knowledge. And there's a lot of people who they go in, like you went in, not knowing what to expect, but just knowing that I have a concept of something and that I want to own, that I want to scale, and and seeing that, being able to pick your brain and seeing how to move through that is definitely beneficial. So we want to keep that going for sure. But
I would say some lessons. You're gonna learn lessons along the way.
mm-hmm.
So just some lessons is that if you want to go into a business, is go into that business knowing that you're going to work harder, and you're going to work harder alone.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be by yourself. Nobody is going to understand nothing that you're trying to do
Mm-hmm.
because it goes outside of what's normal. It's normal to go to work, do your job and come home, sit in front of the TV and then go to bed. That's normal. Go out to eat every once in a while, maybe catch a movie. That's most people's lives. That's all they do. But it's a few people out there that says, I want more. And what is that more? Why do you want more? So that's kind of, some lessons that I learned is like, it's lonely trying to start a business. It's going to be lonely for a while,
Yeah.
until it gets so amazing that, like Jeff Bezos or somebody where you got a yacht and you flying all over the world and you know, but that's from a lot of days of loneliness
Yeah.
to be able to be that, like you was talking about, Tesla, you know, I'm sure it was a lot of lonely days because it is lonely when you're trying to go after your dream because it's only your dream.
Exactly.
It's nobody else's dream.
Not a lot of people think that way.
Yeah.
So we live in a sheepish type of society where everyone is kind of moving in the same direction. The majority of Americans, majority of people in this country, they're blue collar people. They wake up in the morning, they go, to work, they come home, they chill. And they cycle and repeat.
Right.
Don't work on weekends.
Right.
But there's a few people who not to say that that's wrong,
Right.
because there's people who make a great living for their family doing that.
Right.
But there's a few people who say, hey, no, I'm going to do it this way.
Right.
And a lot of those times, those people look crazy.
Yeah.
They look absolutely insane.
Right.
And I was just telling somebody a little while ago, when you're one of those people who have that entrepreneurial spirit or that sales spirit, or you're the type of person to just go and get after it and you have those ideas,
Right.
that's you going against so many people that are going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You're going to face so much resistance
Yes.
to where it feels like what you're doing is wrong.
Right.
Maybe I should just turn around and go with these people because they're going in this direction.
Right.
But if you have that desire for something different, it's a lot of resistance.
To me, it's
A
the
lot of
spice.
resistance.
It's the spice of life.
It is.
It's the spice of life. To do something that you want to do against all odds. That's what superheroes are, right?
Yeah.
It's like going against the grain and doing something totally different because it's so easy to just do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do what you want to do. We're not taught to do what we really want to do.
Yeah.
We're taught to do what everybody else is doing.
Mhm.
We feel awkward when we do something that not everybody is doing,
Right.
because everybody's like, why are you not conforming? That's how they teach us in school, to conform, to be like everybody else, to raise your hand when you want to talk. You don't just stand up. You don't just yell it out. You do what everybody else is doing. So we're taught that. So when somebody is different, a lot of times they get criticized. And
Right.
Grant Cardone says that, when you're doing that, you're going to get criticized at first, but those are the steps of greatness,
Mhm.
So I'm willing to take that because I don't really care, I mean, life is so short. I should be doing what I want to do because pretty soon I won't be here. This video will still be here. I won't even be here no more, That's how life is, Somebody will be able to see this 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and still be motivated off of something that we said today.
Mhm.
So that's the thing, man. Your life is so short. I've lost so many people that's important to me, and it just gave me the fire to just say, yeah, do what makes you happy,
Yeah.
even if it pisses everybody else off. Do what makes you happy, because it's you that you got to sleep with every night, and your thoughts, and man, am I doing enough? Am I, those are the things that'll kill you. Just do it.
Yeah.
Speed, and do it fast. Don't procrastinate. Like if you do, you like, hey, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's what you got to do. You have to put that speed behind it. You can't procrastinate. You sitting there. One thing I thought about when I opened up my barbecue restaurant is every day I need to do something that's going to get me closer to my goal. And it took me 5 years to come up with all the concepts. And it took me 5 years to have my restaurant. So that's 10 years of my life that I thinking about it and doing it. You know what I'm saying? But the 5 years of doing it came from the 10 years of getting every day doing something that was going to get me there. I had to go take these tests. I had to go down to the city. I had to go apply for this. And all these things I don't know nothing about because I've never done it because they don't teach it. Now, we got chat GPT to talk to that and be like, hey, Chad, hey, let me ask you something. How do I do this? So now we got a little cheat code now, so, that's, if you want it, go after it.
Yeah.
I didn't know we was going to turn this into a motivational speech.
No,
but
that's what this really is. It's what it's
really
for.
is. It's
to
like,
be able to give people the motivation to be able to go and pursue their dreams.
Right, because you're miserable if you don't.
Yeah.
You really are.
Yeah.
You're miserable if you don't. We're naturally lazy, so we really don't want to do nothing. you know? So you have to go against the grain to go do something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my idea. It's who I am. So how am I going to be lazy to myself,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, man, I'm all with it. Whatever you want to open up, whatever you want to do, go do it. There's people that's doing it. You know, when I got into the barbecue business, it was uh, this dude named Big Daddy, and he had a barbecue restaurant in Gary. So I already saw that there was somebody that's doing it. He had been around for a while. He had good barbecue. And even though I learned from people, they were like, yeah, I don't like his barbecue because he do this and he do that. Or I love his barbecue because he do this and he do that. And I learned, okay, so people going to talk about you either way.
Yeah.
But guess what? Every day he open.
Mm-hmm.
Every day he's selling barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
He don't care what they say. You go in there and he got a whole staff of people that's, you know, making this barbecue, and there's people in line waiting for it.
I tell you what, I can't go a day without somebody coming and saying, you know what you really should make a podcast about? And I'm like, nah, tell me.
Yeah, tell me.
Nah, just tell me.
Yeah,
Because I don't know.
what they say.
All types of shit.
Yeah.
And there's some good ideas in there.
Yeah.
The sneaker show was a great idea. The panel after dark show was a great idea from someone else that I got and turned it into something real. I mean, and it's not like I don't value those ideas, but you know, there's also some people who say, hey, it'd be really cool if you just stopped potting and hung out. You know, we miss you. We ain't seen you. You know, and I'm like, hey, it'd be really cool if you came on a pod and hung out.
Yeah. Because this is what I'm doing.
This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. So get with me on this.
Yeah.
And then we can hang out.
Yeah. Everybody can go.
Right.
Everybody can go.
Exactly. No, and I had the same thing at my restaurant. You know what you should do? You know what you should make? You know how you should do this? And I'll be like, oh, okay, thank you. But guess what? I'm going to do it my way.
Yes.
This is my way. You open up your restaurant, you do it your way. I will come and visit it too. You know, when you ever open it.
We'll come holler at you.
I'll come holler at you. But this is my way. And I'm going to stand on that because I'm going to die on this hill because this is the hill I built, you know. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people that procrastinate, you know, and that's what it takes out most people. They too scared. They too comfortable. They scared they're gonna lose.
Either that or they quit.
Remember I told you my wife said, we're gonna die. We gonna die if you quit your job. We're gonna die. So guess what? She ain't dead, just so you know.
Yeah, she's good.
She's still alive and I'm still alive. Yeah. But that's what, you know, nothing against her, but you know, that's how she felt. Because you got a good job. What are you doing leaving your job to go start this and you don't know nothing about it?
Yeah.
You know, so if that ain't motivation, I don't know what is. Yeah. So that's how sometimes, you know, people will leave you for what you want to do. They be like, you going to go do that? Yeah. Well, we're not going to be together no more. They might take your kids from you, your marriage from you. You don't know. But guess what? You got to decide how much do I want this? How bad do I want it? Yeah. And most people don't want it that bad.
No.
So they just be like, you know what? Never mind. I don't want it that bad. Yeah. You got to want it bad.
Yeah.
You know, we look at people like Amazon or Walmart. We don't know what those men had to do to make those companies into what they were, you know, what they are. But we know they had to do something extremely, extremely hard.
Yeah.
Because I can't go just make a Walmart up right now.
No.
It would be extremely hard. And those men did it. So they had to piss off a lot of people to get to where they was at, right?
Yeah.
And when they die, their kids still eating off of it.
Yeah.
You know, Amazon, after he dies, that business still gonna be around, you know, because he's employed all these people now, all these different people making money off of his idea, you know. But when he was in that room with Amazon, you know, stenciled on the wall, wasn't nobody in that room with him but him and that little desk, and he coming up with his ideas, and you know, and he just had his wife to help him. So that's how we all start. And another thing, don't be afraid to start where you are. You know, it's gonna be hard. So it's gonna be hard. It's gonna take a lot out of you. It's gonna be a lot of sleepless nights. It's gonna drain your bank account. It's gonna have you in debt. It's gonna have you with no friends. Just prepare for that.
Yeah.
You know, and if that doesn't scare you, then go ahead and do it.
A good friend of mine, Joe Pavoni, we say all the time, you know, the your level of success depends on how much shit you can eat and still smile.
Yeah. I mean, really. I mean, that's what it is. It's like, it's going to be the hardest thing that you have ever done in your life.
Yeah.
You know, you like my kicks?
You steady saying you ain't trying to go on the sneaker pot.
I know. These old too. Look at them. And I still wear them. Yeah. These Spazikes.
Yeah, you keep finding. I was looking, I was like, Spazikes.
These Spazikes. Yeah, man. I love sneakers, man. But I ain't want to go on the show because I'm like, I don't know about all these new kicks, man. I don't know. I like my old school shoes.
All we do is talk about classics.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. Thank you so much. As always, like, subscribe, hit the buttons, join our Patreon. We're going to have some exclusive content. We'll be able to.
Thanks for having me too, dog.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
hopefully
maybe
we help some people.
Yeah.
You know.
And next time maybe we get some other business owners or some car biz guys out here.
Yeah. That'll be fun. Do a automotive pod. Yeah, giving you another idea.
I know they be coming on this show. Okay. It's still gonna be for business.
Yeah. Business.
For business.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much. Thank you. It was a vibe. It was real. This is the panel. They call me Swill, and we will see you guys very, very, very soon.